He didn't expect the quiet car ride to change the way he looked at her forever. Ethan had only agreed to help because his friend Mark was running late, and Mark never asked for favors lightly. So when Mark called and said, "Bro, can you drop my sister home? She's stuck after her class," Ethan didn't hesitate. He'd known Lily for years. She was Mark's little sister. Sweet, polite, always smiling at everyone with that soft, warm expression that made people relax instantly. But he had never spent time alone with her. Not like this. Not in a quiet parking lot at almost dusk, where the breeze carried hints of cold and the sky was fading from gold to gray. Ethan pulled up to the curb and saw her waiting there, backpack slung over one shoulder, hair tied loosely, headphones around her neck. She turned when she heard the car door open, and the smile she gave him felt different, gentler, almost relieved. "Thanks for picking me up," she said, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Mark told me he was stuck across town." "No worries," Ethan said. "Hop in." She settled into the passenger seat, quiet at first, a little shy even. But as she pulled out of the parking lot, she let out a small breath, almost like she had been holding it all day. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, but the nod was hesitant, like her thoughts were somewhere else. "Long day," she finally said, "and I think I just needed a familiar face." Ethan wasn't expecting that, not from her, not said with that soft tone that made him glance over. The light from the street lamps caught her expression, revealing something tired yet hopeful, something that pulled at him in a way he didn't understand. They drove for a while in comfortable silence, but something had shifted between them. He could feel it. A quiet connection forming where there had never been space for one before. At a red light, she looked out the window and whispered, "Do you ever have days where you feel like the whole world is just too loud?" Ethan paused. He wasn't expecting a question like that. "Yeah," he said softly. "Sometimes." She nodded, then turned to him, eyes steady and open. "Today was one of those days," she said, "and for some reason, being here feels easier." He didn't know what to say, but she didn't need an answer. The way she looked at him told him she already felt understood. As they entered her neighborhood, she shifted slightly closer, resting her arm near his on the center console, not touching, just near, enough for him to feel the quiet warmth between them. He pulled up slowly in front of her house. The porch light glowed softly. Her mother's curtains were drawn. Everything looked peaceful, ordinary. But nothing inside the car felt ordinary anymore. Lily unbuckled her seatbelt but didn't reach for the door. Instead, she looked at him with something gentle and unspoken. "Thanks again," she said quietly, "for the ride and for listening." He nodded, but before he could reply, she added in a small, honest voice, "I didn't expect to feel this calm with you." Those words stayed in the air between them, soft, unexpected, full of meaning he didn't know how to name yet. And just when he thought she would leave, she hesitated, as if there was something else she wanted to say, something important, something that might change everything once spoken. She took a breath, opened her mouth, and the moment hung there, trembling on the edge of something new. She didn't step out of the car right away, and that hesitation changed everything. Lily's hand stayed on the door handle, but her eyes stayed on Ethan. It was a soft look, uncertain, hopeful, the kind of expression that made a person slow down without knowing why. "I had a rough day," she said quietly, "and I didn't really want to go inside yet." Ethan blinked. Her house was right there, porch light glowing, home warm and safe. But she chose to stay in the car with him instead. He didn't want to overthink it, but his heartbeat wouldn't listen. "You want to talk about it?" he asked, keeping his voice gentle. She let out a breath, almost laughing at herself. "I don't know where to start," he said. "I'm here." That simple reassurance seemed to soften her shoulders. She leaned back into the seat, turning slightly toward him. Her voice dropped, honest in a way he hadn't heard from her before. "Today felt heavy," she said. "I messed up a project. I argued with someone I care about, and everything just kept piling on." He nodded, listening closely. She wasn't someone who usually shared things like this, not with him at least. "But when you showed up," she continued, "it felt like, I don't know, like the day finally paused, and I could breathe again." Ethan felt something shift inside him, something warm and protective. "I'm glad I could help," he said softly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The quiet wasn't awkward. It was calm, steady, almost comforting. The porch light flickered slightly as a light breeze passed. Lily watched it, then whispered, "Sometimes you feel safe with someone, and you don't know why." She wasn't looking at the porch anymore. She was looking at him. Ethan swallowed, unsure how to respond to something that sincere. He didn't want to misread it, didn't want to assume. But he felt it too, that quiet closeness forming like a slow sunrise. "Lily," he said gently, "you know you can tell me anything, right?" She smiled a small, tired smile. "I know, and that's what scares me." He raised his brows. "Scares you?" She nodded. "Because you're Mark's best friend, and Mark trusts you more than almost anyone." True, Mark was like a brother to him. He would never do anything to break that trust. But he didn't know what Lily was trying to say, not yet. Before he could ask, she broke eye contact and looked down at her hands. Her voice softened again. "I didn't expect to feel this connected to you tonight," she said. "It caught me off guard." The words hit him gently but deeply. He found himself unable to look away from her. The house behind her seemed to fade. The world outside the car disappeared. Only the two of them remained, two steady heartbeats in the same quiet space. "Is that a bad thing?" he asked. Her lips curled into the faintest smile. "No, just unexpected." She finally reached for the door again, but this time her movement was slow, almost reluctant. "Thanks, Ethan," she whispered, "for being the kind of person people can lean on." She opened the door, cold night air drifting into the car, but before stepping out, she paused one last time, her hand lightly resting on the frame. "There's something I want to tell you," she murmured, "something I've been keeping to myself for a long time." Ethan felt his pulse jump. "Lily, what is it?" She looked at him with a soft, trembling honesty that made his breath catch. She leaned forward just an inch, not close enough to cross a line, but close enough for him to feel the meaning in her gaze. And then she whispered words that turned the night completely. "I didn't just feel calm today. I felt safe with you. And it surprised me more than you know." She stepped out of the car, gently closing the door behind her, but she didn't walk away. She stood there on the sidewalk, watching him through the window, as if she hoped he would say something, or follow, or simply understand what she couldn't yet put into words. The night held its breath between them. He should have driven away, but something in her eyes made him stay. Ethan sat there with his hands still on the steering wheel, watching Lily through the window. She wasn't moving. She wasn't going inside. She simply stood there, holding her backpack strap, like she was waiting for something she didn't know how to ask for. He exhaled slowly, then opened his door and stepped out. The air was cool and quiet. The street was mostly dark, except for the soft glow of the porch light behind her. Lily turned when she heard his footsteps. Her expression softened, but there was a hint of nervousness too, the kind that comes when you finally let someone see a little more of you. "You didn't have to get out," she said gently. "I know," Ethan replied, "but you looked like you needed someone to stay for a minute." She let out a small breath. almost a relieved one. "Yeah," she said, "I guess I did." They stood a few feet apart, the space between them filled with everything unspoken. It wasn't romantic in a dramatic way. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't loud. It was just two people sharing a quiet moment on a quiet night, the kind that stays with you longer than you expect. Lily shifted her weight slightly. "I didn't mean to say so much," she murmured. "I usually keep things bottled up. I don't like bothering people." "You're not bothering me," Ethan said softly. "Not even close." She looked down at the ground, almost shy. Then her voice dropped even lower. "You're really easy to talk to." Ethan felt something warm move through him. He wasn't sure what it meant. Not yet, but he knew it mattered. "Come on," she said after a moment. "At least walk me to the steps. It feels weird talking from the middle of the driveway." He smiled. "All right." They walked side by side toward the porch. Just a few steps, but it felt like more, like the distance between them was quietly closing. When they reached the bottom step, Lily sat down instead of going inside. Ethan hesitated, but she patted the step beside her. "You can sit," she said. "It's not illegal." He laughed softly and sat next to her, keeping a respectful distance. The night breeze brushed past them, carrying the faint scent of pine from the nearby trees. "Do you know what today reminded me of?" Lily asked after a while. "What?" "That sometimes the people you least expect become the people you feel safest with." He turned to her. She was staring straight ahead, knees pulled close, backpack by her feet. But her voice was sincere, clear, emotional. "You don't have to answer," she said quickly. "I'm not trying to make things weird. I just wanted to say it out loud." "It's not weird," Ethan said. "Not at all." She finally looked at him. Her eyes were soft in the porch light, warm and real. "Mark always says you're one of the most trustworthy people he knows." "That's a lot to live up to," Ethan murmured. "And you do," she said, "more than you realize." Those words felt heavier than she meant them to. Or maybe she meant every syllable. He couldn't tell. A few silent seconds passed, but they weren't uncomfortable. They were full, like the moment was slowly taking shape. Then Lily spoke again, her voice almost a whisper. "There's something I wanted to tell you earlier, in the car, but I didn't know if it was the right moment." Ethan's heartbeat quickened. "What is it?" he asked gently. She looked down at her hands, then up at him. Her voice trembled just enough to show how real it was. "Today, when you showed up, it felt like someone finally saw me, not as Mark's little sister, not as someone who's always supposed to be fine, just me." Ethan felt something shift inside him at her words, something honest, something protective, something he couldn't name yet. "I'm glad I was there," he said quietly. Lily nodded, but she didn't get up. She didn't go inside. She stayed right there beside him, as if the night still had more to reveal. Then, with a tiny, hesitant breath, she whispered, "Ethan, there's one more thing. Something I've been fighting with myself about for a long time." He turned fully toward her. "Lily, what is it?" She swallowed, gathering courage. Her fingers gently gripped the edge of the step. Her voice was soft, full of meaning she wasn't used to sharing. "When I'm around you, I feel something I can't ignore anymore." The words hung in the cool air, tender, vulnerable, unforgettable. And before Ethan could respond, she lowered her gaze, as if she wasn't sure how he would take the truth she had finally spoken. The quiet night seemed to stretch endlessly, holding its breath between them. Ethan didn't move at first. Her words had settled over him like a gentle wave, unexpected, soft, but impossible to ignore. He swallowed and tried to find the right thing to say. But how do you respond when someone admits something so raw, so honest? You feel something? He finally whispered. Lily nodded, her fingers tightening slightly around the strap of her backpack. Yes, something I didn't plan, something I didn't expect, but it's real, and I can't pretend it isn't. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He wasn't sure if it was surprise, relief, or something else entirely. Maybe all three. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The world outside the porch light didn't exist. The soft hum of distant traffic, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, it all faded into nothing. Finally, Ethan leaned slightly closer, careful not to overstep. Lily, I don't know what to say, but I'm glad you told me. And I need you to know, I feel it too. Her eyes widened, just a little. A soft gasp escaped her lips, almost inaudible. You do? She whispered. Her voice trembled with hope and disbelief. Yes, he said gently. I've tried to ignore it. I've tried to think it's just the situation. But being with you tonight, it's different, and I can't pretend it's nothing anymore. Her hand hovered in the air for a second, then brushed lightly against her backpack strap, almost like a nervous tick. Ethan could see the vulnerability in her posture. It made him ache in a way he hadn't expected. You're Mark's best friend, she said softly, and I know he trusts you more than anyone. I don't want this to make things weird. I don't want to hurt anyone. He shook his head gently. We'll figure it out, he said. Care about someone doesn't have to ruin everything. It just makes some moments harder to ignore. Lily exhaled slowly, as if a weight had lifted. Her shoulders relaxed a little. She glanced up at him, and there was something tender in her gaze, a mix of relief, anticipation, and a quiet, unspoken hope. Ethan, she said, almost a whisper, tonight feels like the start of something. He smiled softly, letting the words settle between them. Maybe it is, he said. They sat together on the step for a while longer, just breathing, letting the quiet stretch. It wasn't dramatic or rushed. It was simple. It was real. Then Lily glanced toward her front door, realizing the time had passed. She stood slowly, brushing off her pants. I should go inside, she said. But I don't want to leave this feeling behind. Ethan nodded. Then don't. We can start where we are. No rush, no expectations, just this. She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that reaches the eyes and lingers in your chest. And then, just as she turned to go inside, she paused. Ethan? Yeah? Her voice was soft, barely audible. But can we see each other again, soon? His heart skipped a beat. Yes, he said immediately, absolutely. The night had shifted quietly, and with it, everything between them had changed. Ethan stayed on the porch for a few more seconds, just letting the moment settle. The world felt different now, lighter, warmer, more alive. He knew that tonight would be one of those memories he carried forever. The next day, he couldn't stop thinking about her. Her smile, the way she had looked at him, the soft, honest way she had admitted how she felt. He sent a simple message. Hope your day's going well. Thinking of last night. Within minutes, her reply came. Me too. I didn't expect to feel this happy after such a rough day. Something inside him lifted. It wasn't just a text. It was a bridge, a continuation of the moment they had shared. They started spending time together in small ways. Coffee after classes, short walks in the park, even just sitting and talking about their days. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rushed. It was slow. It was careful. It was theirs. And every time he saw her smile, he felt that same quiet warmth he had felt that first night. The warmth that told him this connection was real. Mark eventually noticed the change. He raised an eyebrow one afternoon and asked Ethan, "Why do you two seem different?" Ethan smiled, shrugging casually. "Maybe some things are meant to change," he said. Mark didn't press further. He could tell. And more importantly, he trusted them. Weeks passed, and every time Ethan dropped Lily off at her home, or picked her up, or even met her somewhere by chance, they found themselves lingering in those small moments. A shared laugh, a quiet smile, a touch on the arm that lingered just a second too long. One evening, as they walked back from a late evening coffee, Lily turned to him. "You know," she said softly, "I wasn't expecting to feel this way about anyone, but I'm glad I did. About you." Ethan reached for her hand. Her fingers intertwined with his naturally, as if they had always fit together this way. He looked at her, really looked at her, and smiled. "I'm glad too," he whispered, "more than you know." They stood there on the sidewalk, hands together, the city lights casting a soft glow around them. Everything felt possible. Everything felt safe. Everything felt like a beginning. For Ethan, that night, the night he had gone to drop a friend's sister home, wasn't just a simple favor anymore. It was the night everything shifted. The night he realized that sometimes the moments you least expect become the moments that change your life forever. And as they walked inside her home, side by side, hearts quietly in sync, Ethan knew one thing for certain. Some connections are worth waiting for. Some moments are worth holding on to, and some nights are simply unforgettable. The beginning of everything had arrived quietly, softly, perfectly, and neither of them would ever forget it. The end. She nodded, a gentle light in her eyes that made him realize everything had shifted in this one night. She disappeared inside her home, and Ethan remained on the porch for a moment. The night air felt charged, electric, yet calm. He knew this wasn't just a fleeting moment. Something real had begun. And deep down, he realized nothing would ever feel the same between them again. The door clicked behind her, leaving him standing there, smiling softly into the night. The world outside still existed, but inside him, everything had changed.